So what is the best skipping rope that we've used over the last year?
Actually, it's been over a year, closer to a year and a half.
Really? Why did it take so long for us to do this review?
We have a terrible boss.
Monty, he's about to fall asleep. Now, over the last year, I've realized, I don't know if Val has, but I've realized that the best rope for anybody is going to be based a lot on personal preference and skill level. That's kind of what I've learned using all these ropes with workouts over the last year and, well, year and a half. Now, I can do any workout with any of these ropes without much of an issue, but if I really, really wanted to crush something, I have to go back to my rope, which is this one.
Well, Aaron goes back to his rope because he's a nerd and spends more effort understanding the physics of doing something instead of volume. I, on the other hand, just try to make it through the workout without dying.
And sucking.
So in this video, we're going to elaborate on the different features that will affect your skipping ability and then break down the 10 plus ropes we've used into different skill levels. So here are all the different ropes we bought and tested. The Elite SRS Bullet Competition Rope, the Sonic Boom M2 High Speed Rope, the Picsil BeeRope 2.0, the RX Smart Gear Original RX, RPM Training Session 3.0 and 4.0, the Outrigger WOD Nation Elite SRS Surge 3.0, the Rogue EGrip, and the Rogue SR 1, 2, and 3.
Now, if you are a fan of Rogue products, do check out our slightly more detailed comparison between the Rogue SR 1, 2, and 3, and in that video, you'll figure out why Val and I have a serious dislike for the Rogue SR3. So in the process of doing this video, it's taken us a very long time to actually get down to the nitty gritty and work out with all these products. Bear Complex came out with their Hummer rope, which is about $37 US, probably 45, close to 50 Canadian dollars. So it probably would have gone in this video as well. So we've got thoughts on it because it looks very similar to some of the products that we have here, and we don't really like the design of that product. So we will go through that at the end of this video, and if you are trying to figure out how to do your double unders, we'll both share with you how we got our double unders. It took me like 2 years. It's so gross. It was terrible. But now I can skip. Now the best rope, again, as I said at the beginning of this video, is going to be very subjective. At the end of the day, it's going to be about how comfortable you are with your own rope, and the more you use it, the closer you will get to it. There really is a special bond between your rope and the owner. It's really all about the feedback, the feels about going through the double unders and stuff. So before you go and figure out which one is the one, make sure you understand the differences between all the different features of all these products.
Before you pick the one, you should also get to know yourself first. You can't find the one if you can't be on your own. You have to wake up next to this one every single day. Make sure you know what you're getting into before you pick the one.
Which is why you're watching this video, because this is like the equivalent of a dating app for skipping ropes.
Yeah.
Handle length. Out of all the ropes that we tested in the last year, the shortest handle was the Elite SRS Surge 3.0 at 5 inches, and the longest handle was the Rogue SR1 at a hair over 7 inches. Now for beginners and intermediate skippers, we suggest going with a longer handle. You'll be able to feel and control the cable a little bit better as there's a bit more whip. But you have to work a little harder as the longer handles require a bit more effort to make a full rotation. For intermediate and we'll say more advanced skippers, going with a shorter handle is going to be more efficient, but you just won't feel the movement as much. There won't be as much feedback, so you just rely on muscle memory. To illustrate the difference between the long and short handles, here's a slow motion shot of a set of double unders with a long handle compared to a slow motion shot with a short handle, and you could definitely see the difference in the travel of each handle. Next up is the handle weight, and weight is kind of self-explanatory. The heavier the handle, the more work you have to put into skipping. The heaviest handle we tested was the Rogue EGrip, and the lightest handle was the Outrigger. Now from our perspective, having a heavier handle makes it easier to feel the movement, but requires more work as you have to grip the handle harder. For lighter handles, especially the very thin ones, it's almost like nothing's in your hands, so you just, again, muscle memory is very important when you get better at skipping. Now I will say that all this kind of depends on your goal with skipping. If you're looking to build grip strength, then having a heavier handle is going to tax your forearms more, make you more swole, I guess, and if that's truly what you want, then you go with the heavier handled Rogue EGrip. Next up is cable weight. Again, something is heavier, the more work you'll need to do, but the easier it will be to feel where the rope is or cable is in space. The lightest cable was the uncoated cable from RPM. The heaviest cable was the cable on the RX Smart Gear Original RX. That's a mouthful. Now for us, from a beginner's perspective, we go to the lighter handle and heavier rope and switch to a lighter one later on. That's the best setup for feedback from our perspective. Also, certain cables come uncoated, we just mentioned that, which shaves kind of a few grams off the weight. This RPM Train & Co., they sell uncoated cables, but the speed difference is barely noticeable from Aaron's perspective, but it sounds pretty fast, doesn't it? Another feature to consider is cable adjustability. Most ropes offer some level of adjustability. Some require to use a small screwdriver to loosen the screws, and others include thumb screws, so you don't have to carry a tiny tool with you all the time. This Picsil product even has a self-adjusting feature, which is neat. The only two cables that are more difficult to adjust, which include products from RPM and RX Smart Gear. Now, from a beginner's perspective, being able to play around with your cable length is going to be handy as you figure out how your body moves or wants to move while skipping.
Now, as you get more proficient, the length isn't going to change much. But during the pandemic, Aaron had to spend more time skipping in confined quarters, and he ended up cutting the length of his rope by like 2 to 3 inches.
Yeah, like it's crazy how much shorter my rope is compared to when it was, because I have to skip in this tiny area like this.
Next feature to pay attention to is the bearing and the bushing speeds. These are basically the parts where the handles meet the rope and the little ball you thread your rope through that will spin every single time your rope turns over your head and under your feet. Ideally, you want to look for a product with both metal bushings and bearings, as there will be more degrees of movement, allowing your rope to turn more smoothly, giving better speed without having to put in as much effort. Now, the smoother the bearing and bushing, the faster your skipping rope will go. But there's less feedback with the faster products, which again requires to be more proficient with skipping. Now, as a side note, products that are extremely slow should just be avoided from our perspective. Skipping with a clunky bearing and bushing isn't really going to help anybody.
Now, before we move on, if you like what we do, get your rope through our links. It's the best way to support this unbiased, unsponsored channel and content. Now, the fastest rope in our video is actually this one, the Elite SRS Bullet Competition Rope. Like, it is just, this thing is crazy.
Fast.
You hold this. Compared to the slowest one, which is the SR3,
This is still spinning.
it's still spinning.
So for every product in this video, we measured the length of the new cable, measured the weight of the handles, the spin time of the bushing and bearings, and more importantly, spent way too much time skipping with ropes that we didn't like over the last year.
Now, we're not going to bore you with all the details for each rope. We'll just point out how we felt about them while actually skipping. Am I that boring?
Starting with the Elite SRS Bullet. The rope looks pretty cool and feels fast. It's $60 and you can make adjustments to it in seconds by twisting the top of the handle and threading your cable through to get the length you need. Then you screw it tight again and you're good to go.
Sonic boom! Hadouken! Hadouken! Well, I have to do it. The rope's called the Sonic Boom, so like, you go Sonic Boom!
The Sonic Boom is a heavy rope. You'll really notice the weight, especially in the handles. You'll also notice there's kind of a strange whip effect that comes from the handles. It almost feels like if you go a little harder, the rope is gonna fly out of your hands. This $45 rope also does not come with any adjustment tools because it doesn't need any. You just push down on the top of the handles and the rope goes in and out. The Elite SRS Surge 3.0 has thin handles and what we consider a good weight to it. What we mean by that is there's a good balance between the weight of the handles and the weight of the cable. This $40 rope has a really cool hidden screwdriver to make any adjustments to it. It screws into the handle so you'll never lose it. The Picsil BeeRope 2.0 is a self-adjusting rope, which is pretty cool because that means you won't need any tools to make quick adjustments to your rope. The handles feel nice and the knurling along the handles gives you a nice grip on your rope. It does, however, have a very annoying cable that coils every time you use it.
So if you're finding these reviews useful, you can support us by buying your rope through our Amazon links. You can also hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. What else?
You can find one of the Patreon things for our other channels. Support us through that. That'd be great.
Next is the WOD Nation Rope. Now this is a standard run-of-the-mill rope. At $18, it comes with a spare cable and a little bag full of spare parts with a hex wrench for adjustments. The handles and cable are light. That, combined with the metal bearing, means that the rope will spin fast. The handles don't have much texture to them, and it has a nice feature on the opposite side of the bearing. This rubber piece will cause a little kick up on your rope when you fail, and it won't allow your rope to move too much out of its place. Unlike the next rope we're going to talk about, the Outrigger. The Outrigger is one of the cheapest ropes on this list at $15, and well, it feels cheap too. It comes with a spare cable and a few spare screws. Like we mentioned before, this rope will move a lot when you trip over it. The whip effect will travel up the cable and a good chunk will thread through the hole, making every failed double under just way more frustrating, as you have to adjust the rope again every time you set up to continue your double unders. The RPM Session 4.0. Now this is the rope that Aaron actually uses, and it's one of the pricier ropes at $65. It's speedy, has short handles, and includes a hex wrench to adjust the length. The handles come in 6 different colors, and you can also choose from 25 different colored cables. The RPM also has the option of engraving something like your name on the handles. When it comes to the look, this is definitely my kind of rope. Aside from being able to customize your rope and handles, cable color, and add some text, they have some really cool prints and faded handles. They're a little pricier, but they look pretty awesome. The RPM Session 3 is actually the rope that I use. This rope has longer handles than the Session 4. These handles have a nice texture, so you feel like you have a good grip on your rope. And the rope feels really speedy. Now RPM no longer sells this model on their website, which kind of makes sense because their updated version, the 4, is only $5 more and has a bunch of cool new features that this one didn't have, like all the customizable stuff. But I guess if you really wanted to customize it and you already have the handles to this rope, you could just buy different color replacement cables and they would fit these handles. Personally, I love the weight of this rope and the handles. It comes with an extra tiny screw in case you're like me and you lose everything. The Rogue SR1. This rope is light and has long plastic handles. At $35, it's a pretty decent rope. It doesn't come with any extras, but it works well. Now again, for these ropes, check out the detailed comparison we did for them in the card or the link in the description section. The SR1 also comes in a short-handled version as well. The Rogue SR2 has heavy handles, which have a nice grippy texture along them. The cable on this rope is also on the heavier side and it falls into the pricier category at $65. The Rogue SR3. This rope has light handles, which makes sense as they're made out of plastic. The bushing and the bearing on this rope are absolutely terrible. It just feels like a really cheap rope. It's $35, which is not too bad, but when it comes to coiling, the cable on this rope is just the worst. The Rogue EGrip is around $40 and in my opinion, a very annoying rope. It's got heavy handles and a decent cable, but also on the heavy side. Now the reason I say this rope is annoying is because not only will it coil the second you stop skipping, but it squeaks.
That's right. Every time you start skipping with this rope, everyone around you will know.
The RX rope is a really heavy rope, but because of that, it feels great for learning double unders. You can feel the rope at all times, and the handles have a nice shape to them, so it feels really solid in your hands. And the rope doesn't really coil too much, which is nice.
So when it comes to our recommendations, we're basing our rankings on the ropes used during a workout, so that basically eliminates ropes from Picsil, the Rogue SR3, and the Rogue EGrip, as the cables, when you pull them out of your bag, still come out tangled. Like, this is the Picsil. Try skipping with this rope.
You can't.
Like, it honestly took like 3 or 4 days of just like hanging out the rope for it to fully unfurl. And then we like wrapped it back up into the bag and put it back in the bag, and it just, which is great if you're one of those people who have open relationships with their ropes.
The other ropes that we feel were terrible for workouts are the Tomshoo and Sonic Boom ropes, as the action coming off the handle didn't feel right.
Sonic Boom!
We'll also note that once you become more efficient with your skipping and double unders, you'll be able to use any given rope because you've got the muscle memory. The biggest difference is that you won't be as proficient.
Now for beginners, we suggest ropes that have heavier cables and handles because those will provide the most feedback, the feels between the handles and the cables, which will be the best way to kind of find a rhythm, to feel where the rope is going through space so that you can learn how to skip better. The best ropes for beginners are going to be the Rogue SR1, as it's got long handles and the cable provides decent feedback. The Rogue SR2, as it's got long and heavy handles along with a heavier cable for good feedback as well. The RX Mark, your original RX, this rope is very heavy and has very large handles, but unfortunately isn't adjustable, but it does provide a lot of feedback.
Wait, hold on. I'm pretty sure Aaron had to go back to using this RX rope for a few months after we got out of lockdown because his double unders were trash.
No.
Are you still using it?
No. Shame. The WOD Nation Rope, this thing is decently priced, and as a beginner, you really don't want to invest a lot of money into something you might not be truly committed to, like, you know, paying for a really expensive CrossFit membership, but this thing does come with a spare cable, and it just won't be as frustrating when you fail an attempt of double undering because of that little plastic piece. And the last one we'd recommend is going to be the Outrigger because it's stupidly cheap, and, well, the only bad side is it's going to whip you all over when you fail all your reps.
So I realize in the narration, for some reason, I said Outrigger. I don't know how to read. It's Outrigger.
So when we say our boss is terrible, he's supervising us right now.
For beginner to intermediate skippers, we'll say people who can do 30 to 50 double unders unbroken.
Can you?
Yes. Anyway, ropes that would transition well would include the Rogue SR1. It's got good bearing and bushing speed, and the cable's on the lighter side. It also will be better than the SR2 over time because it has lighter handles. The Rogue SR2 also has great bearing and bushing speed. It's a little heavier, so if you've gotten used to the feedback, this one might be a good choice, as you'll get the sense of control from the heavy handles, but you'll get tired quicker. The WOD Nation, as it's a decently priced rope, and we really like those little rubber pieces that stop the rope.
Stop the kickback, which is so terrible when you're trying to learn double unders. I will note that for the SR1, you can get the short handle versions, which is something that we'll talk about in the next grouping of ropes. So for the intermediate to advanced, we would go with any of the ropes from RPM, as they are fast, they have very light handles, and there's no kickback from the rope, and the decent texture on the handles, well, means that as you get sweatier, they won't come flying out of your hands. Like some of these plastic ones, these handles, not too bad, but once you get kind of grody and sweaty, it might fall out of your hands. I've got not very balmy hands, so I don't have that problem, but that's some of the stuff that we've read, and like the RPM handles for this one, like the knurling is awesome. The Rogue SR1, now for this one, we'd specifically, as we mentioned before, go with the short handles because you do less work and you'll make your double unders go a little quicker. However, the kickback will still kind of get you every once in a while, but that won't happen because you're good at skipping. And finally in this grouping, this is actually a really neat rope, I do like it quite a bit, is the Elite SRS Surge 3. This is the thinnest handled rope, and it's incredibly light, the handles. And so it almost feels like there's nothing there. So you kind of have to get used to having this thing almost float in your hand, which is kind of awkward. It gets a bit of getting used to, but it's fast. For those who just want to fly, I just want to fly.
Yes, that was not planned. We just broke out into song.
You go with an RPM Session 4 with a bare cable. This bare cable is 2 to 3 to 4 grams lighter than the Coda ones, which means it'll save you a bit of energy. It's like 10% lighter, but if you fail a rep, it might draw blood.
It's terrifying.
It's awesome. It sounds so fast.
And finally, the Elite SRS Bullet Competition Rope. Now, this rope has the smoothest handles out of all of these ropes, and it's fast. I actually had to stop using it because I got scared that I was gonna fail, and the rope whipping me would be the death of me.
I have a hard time using this rope because it is just that smooth. Like I still can't feel my rope well, but I'm gonna keep using it, and then I'm gonna stick one of these bare cables to it. Watch out, I'm going to the games!
Or you just have a death wish.
Or just have a death wish. So when it comes to getting our double unders, it took me so long to get them. So I first started out with an Outrigger rope, and the handles got so, I'm very impatient sometimes, so I threw them, and then like the handles just ended up being like an SR3 handle. You just like, it would barely turn. And so I did a lot of research on the internet, and they're like, hey, these guys create great content for if you're trying to learn how to skip for any sort of level. And they're like, this is a good rope to learn how to skip. And so they've got a height chart, and they tell you, you know, for this length of tallness, height, you go with a certain length of rope, but you can adjust the length of the rope. And so I tried using this for about 6-7 months, and I got nowhere. So I ended up buying another rope, another Outrigger, and all I had to do was make the length of the rope longer by 1 inch. And then I started getting my double unders. So that's kind of the journey of how I've gotten to my double unders. One of the gym mates showed me his Session 3, and I found that I liked this action better than having the ball and the bearing like you would see on the Rogue ones. And so this is now a Session 4, and this rope It's the one. I got the feels with the rope. Oh, I got it. This is my
The
rope.
one?
Now, with that being said, I am going to slowly evolve, move on.
Wait, don't. He's right there. He can hear you.
Move on to the bullet rope. So that's kind of my plan. I am interested in getting some of the more expensive ropes, but we felt that that was out of context for the amount of money that we wanted amount of money or the money cap for this video. So that's kind of how I learned how to do double unders. How about you, Val?
I can't remember how long it took me to get my double unders again, but I kind of always knew how to do it. Like I used to do gymnastics as a kid, so like I had that kind of muscle memory, and it was like my brain remembered how to do it, but my body didn't. So it took me, I think, a couple of months, and I don't remember what rope I used. It was one of the gym ones at Pyro, so maybe a Rogue. But I will say I got way better once I got this one from Aaron. Once I started using this rope, I was able to do way more unbroken and just like get through workouts without tripping all the time. It just feels a lot smoother, and I do like the feedback on it as well. Like the handles are long, they're a little heavier, and like when I used this one during this whole process of the video, I really liked it as well. Like I like that the handles are heavy and you can really feel where the rope is at all times. I feel like when you can kind of feel like the whip of the rope, that kind of gives you like a beat or like a rhythm to follow in the workout, and that's been the best way for me to get through double unders.
That's how we got our double unders. Few months, years. So that's all we got through for this video. Questions, comments, leave them down there. This is an unsponsored channel. This is unsponsored content. We do this because we're reviewers, not influencers. We're not trying to peddle anything to you because someone told us to. That's what we do. So give us a thumbs up, click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and get your ropes through our Amazon links. Thanks for watching.
Pixel?
Picsil. Picsil.
Pixel?
How do you use?
I don't know. For some reason I was gonna say Picil, like a Pisces.
You have to make the motion. Sonic boom!
Like this?
Yeah, sonic boom.
Can you show me? Wait. Oh, it's like...
We'll like have the ropes, but they'll hang it there and other people will use it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
no.
that's what I meant by...
Oh, like you're sharing the one with someone else.
Yes.
Ooh. I mean, sharing is caring.
I disagree.